Hey guys, my name is Ruslan. I'm an engineer in Trust Wallet. But today's talk, I'll try to make totally non-technical. I want to just give an overview on account abstraction from the perspective of the wallet and try to explain you what are the current issues that we're having with the Trust Wallet, basically with the EOA wallet, and why we think that account abstraction is really cool and may be able to help us solve those. So I'm going to just dive into all the problems we see from the user feedback right now. Let's go. First one, people always lose their seed phrases. So for the past like 20, 30 years, we've been saying people, please don't write your passwords on the paper, please don't tell it to anyone. And then after 20 years, the blockchain comes and say, please write your 12 words on the piece of paper and store it somewhere in a safe location. And everybody is like, what is this? And then also, because of that, people treat their seed phrases as a password. So there is like a mental concept of something secret that unlocks my funds or whatever. So when they lose their seed phrases, they always contact us and say, can you please reset our password or our seed phrase? And we say, we cannot reset your seed phrase, and then everyone is angry and everyone is mad. And this is some concept that like people still don't get, and if we want mass adoption, I don't think they will ever get it, so there has to be a different solution. Next one is your, let's say, Trust Wallet or any mobile wallet. It's always on your phone. It's a hot wallet, which means that you don't want to store, like, I don't know, your life savings, tens of thousands of dollars on your phone that is super easy, available, and accessible, because you can get robbed on the street. The guy with the gun will ask you to transfer the money, and there is no protection, you can do it all. So people don't really treat mobile wallets that much as a, you know, something that they store money. It's more like a cash thing when they just like try some things in DeFi, but let's say their life savings will be on like Binance or something, which is even worse. Then another thing is the gas. The gas is another alien concept in this world. A lot of people, let's say, they download a wallet. They want to use it just for stable coins, let's say just to store some money on there, or maybe transfer the USDT to someone. They top it up with USDC. They try to transfer it somewhere, and they cannot transfer it because now you need Ether to do transaction, which is, again, why do I need Ether if all my banking applications, I always pay a fee in the same currency that I do? And then they go, they try to buy Ether, then they see there is like on-ramp, there is a KYC you need to do, there is like maybe $50 minimum amount of Ether you can buy, and like people totally get stuck with that because like if you bought, let's say, if you're just trying your wallet, you top it up with 10 USDT, and now you need to buy $50 of Ether just to do anything with it, that really looks like scam. Then I think you're all familiar with like approve, swap, when you do any kind of DeFi transfer. So basically, in order to swap any token to another token, first you need to approve most often the unlimited amount of tokens to some smart contract that probably you have no idea what it does, is it secure or not. And then after you've done this unlimited approval, you wait for a bit, transaction confirmed, then you need to swap, which is very, very, very not user-friendly. People do it because, well, there is no other way, and then they endanger their funds by approving unlimited amount of tokens to something, and also like having bad UX and just go back to centralized exchanges. And then there is also Apple comes and they say, hey, we want 30% of all of your transaction because you need to pay like for anything that happens in your app. And you know, I think they delisted Coinbase wallet a while ago, or like they removed the NFT function there because they said that Coinbase has to pay 30% of the gas fee to Apple without like even understanding how gas works. And that's another problem that also Trust Wallet is having. Like there is always like talks with Apple, they don't want this, they don't want that, they always want some cut, and they don't really understand that it's impossible to have 30% of the gas fees. Anyway, a lot of issues happening in the EOA wallets. And in Trust Wallet, we believe with smart contract wallets, it's actually all can be solved. And we see it as a good opportunity to improve the UX and onboard new people and reduce all the friction that is happening right now with the Web3 onboarding. I'll try to explain a little bit like a high overview, what are smart contract wallets? Well, shortly, it's a wallet that is your smart contract and has some additional configurations. And the main differences with smart contract wallets comparing with the actual like EOA wallets, like MetaMask, is how the ownership works, basically who owns the funds on the wallet, and also how the transactions are submitted on the blockchain. So I will have ownership architecture, transaction architecture, and I'll just go slowly like over each of those. So in terms of who owns the wallet, This, let's say, for the EOA, for the regular seed phrase wallet, right now you have a address, you have a private key to that address. Private key can do anything related to that address, and that's it. When it comes to smart contract wallet, there is also similar control. There is a signer that controls all the funds that are present on that smart contract, so there is not much difference. What actually different is that you don't have to have only one signer that controls everything. You can have one signer that controls something, and then there are optional capabilities of different signers that you can add to your smart contract. So in that case, you have a signer that controls, let's say, specific amount of funds on the smart contract, and if they want to do, let's say, transfer more funds or like do some actions that are not really approved, then they need the approval of different signers. So that unlocks us a lot of things. For example, you can set a new mnemonic phrase in case the previous one is lost. So now we can reply to the CS tickets from our users, which is if you lost your seed phrase, actually if you preset some way to recover it, you will be able to recover it even if you lost it. In that case, basically what happens is this is, let's say this is the seed phrase, it controls the funds, the seed phrase is lost, there is another signer that is ledger, and signer can reset another seed phrase to this wallet, and then the funds will be recovered. So you can solve this problem with people losing their seed phrases and losing their funds forever. And another thing you can do additional approval for large transfers. So as I said, like you have your hot wallet on your phone, you get robbed on the street with a gun, but that wallet can only transfer 100 USDT per day. And if you want to transfer more, you will need an approval from your friend or from your ledger or maybe from your browser extension at home. To do any transfer over 100 USDT. So in that case, you can store a lot of money on your wallet, and it's not going to be in danger because you have like better protection with the cold wallet or whatever, and you will have to approve all kind of large transfers there. And these are just a couple of examples. You can do a lot of things with these additional signers. That's why it's smart contract, because you can configure basically everything. And that kind of helps people to own their wallets more secure and more confident. When it comes to transactions, it's getting a little bit more complicated. Yeah. I'm not going to go much into details. What I want to tell you is that let's just briefly compare EOA and smart contract wallet. So EOA has transaction goes to the mempool. There is a node or a validator. They fetch transactions one by one from mempool, and they submit it to the blockchain. With the ERC-4337, which is the current standard for smart contract wallets on, let's say, Ethereum ecosystem, there is an alternative mempool for smart contract wallet transactions only. So we have the regular mempool with like default wallets kind of doing their stuff, and all the smart contract wallets will submit the transactions in a different mempool. What it allows to do, it allows to introduce a new guy in the middle, which is bundler. And that's the first big difference that happens with the smart contract wallet comparing with regular wallets. This bundler, they take all these, like, let's say, 3 transactions from the smart contract wallet mempool, they bundle it together, and they submit all of them as one transaction. Basically, you can imagine like Uber. You have a bunch of people, they share the same Uber, and they all go to the same destination. And why it helps those people save money, right? Because they only need to pay once to get to that destination. And the same thing happens on the blockchain, because there is a bundle transaction. The cost of initiating this transaction will also be shared with all these like smaller transactions, which means that essentially they will pay less for gas. And that gets even more cool with the different, let's say, signature customizations. You can do, the thing is called BLS. And you can aggregate the signatures, where like simply saying you'll have one signature for a whole bundle, and that might save your gas even more. So it's kind of like Uber share for transaction, which helps that here. And another cool thing is that here you can solve the gas problem. So there are entities that call paymaster that kind of manipulate how the gas is paid for every single transaction. So if we take the same example with Uber, let's say you have a bunch of friends, you take a big car, you go to the destination, one person pays for that Uber. In that case, that's the bundler. Bundler first pays for the whole bundle of transactions, and then that friend charges you one by one in different ways. Let's say he charges you with cash, another guy with a credit card, and everybody pays their part of this Uber ride to that guy that paid for everything. So here bundler submits all the transaction, bundler pays gas for the whole bundle, and then bundler charges the people who send those TX1, TX2, TX3 one by one in different ways. So let's say someone will be charged with a USDT or some token. For someone, this transaction will be covered. Someone will be charged with Apple Pay. So then the bundler, together with Paymaster, they take care of every single transaction one by one. And that helps you to solve that another problem with gas, that can be configured. And in that case, you can allow your users pay gas in the same token. Like if they have USDT on account, they will also be able to pay gas with USDT or with Apple Pay or whatever. And that solves a lot of concept and struggle that people have with gas these days. So just a final overview. Let's compare the main differences, EOA and smart contract wallets, and see why we think smart contract wallets are better. First one, if 12 words from your EOA is lost, your funds are gone, there is no way to recover. If 12 words from your smart contract wallet are lost, you can still recover that if you predefine the recovery method. For EOA, every transaction requires a single private key. That's the ownership thing. For smart contract wallets, you can require for specific, let's say, super big transactions, you can require multiple keys, like a multi-sig, or like you can configure it in whatever way you want. For EOAs, gas fees is always paid in Ether or BNB or whatever is native gas token on the chain. For smart contract wallets, gas fee can be basically paid in everything. It depends on the wallet provider, how they configure that. With EOA, one user always sends one transaction. With smart contract wallets, many transactions from different users will be bundled as per ERC 4337, which also, as I said, might save gas for a lot of things. And another thing about, I think I didn't mention before, for EOAs, tokens are always swapped in approve and swap, so another big problem that users don't understand, and they always approve unlimited amounts for smart contracts. For smart contract wallet, you can also bundle any kind of steps together. I think there was a good presentation about intents, and like that is also something that's unlocked very cool with smart contract wallets. So you can bundle all kinds of transactions. You can bundle approve 10 tokens and swap 10 tokens right away, and there will be a single transaction. Or you can do like more complicated things with DeFi protocols and stuff, all in the same transactions. Thank you. That was pretty much it. I really tried to make it not very technical. And if you have any questions, I can answer. Yeah, sure.
You mentioned that bundling transactions save gas.
How is it possible? So first of all, when you initiate transaction on Ethereum, you have to pay 21K gas just for initiating the transaction, right? And then when many people share their stuff in the same transaction, they also can share this 21K. So that's the first thing. Yeah. And the second thing, so BLS is so basically in smart contract wallets, you can have different kind of like signature schemes. There is a elliptic curve, the same on Ethereum. You can do like passkeys, which is elliptic curve but different. And there is also BLS. I'm not super familiar with the technical details of how it works, but I know that simply it's basically you have a bunch of transactions, but all of them have a single signature. So let's say normally for every single transaction, you need to check every single signature and make sure that everything works. For this kind of scheme, you only have one signature and for all the transactions. And there is only one step. You check that signature and you make sure if it's correct. And if it's correct, means all the transactions are correct. So that also saves gas on L2s. I didn't see any actual implementation of that, so it's still like a theory. But I hope it's coming. Yeah, anyone? Sure.
How different smart contract wallets similar or same? Like, for example, is it any difference between Trust Wallet, Safe, or any other? Can they do, or do they do all the same stuff more or less? Are there some differences? If so, then what are the main differences, and why should I use one over the other?
Yeah, I think when it comes to actually smart contract wallets, there will be much more differences between like individual products comparing with EOAs, because EOA doesn't have much customization. So when it comes to smart contract wallets, basically every single wallet is the whole new smart contract, let's put it this way. So different wallets will add different capabilities. And basically I think the main things that you can customize, the first one is the signature scheme. Let's say some people will make their wallet work with seed phrases, Some will do it with MPC, social logging. Some will do it with passkeys and like your Face ID, whatever. So there will be different signature schemes for different wallets. Then also, when it comes to the gas, some wallets may charge you only in like USDC, USDT, or the native token. Some wallets can do any token, and like whatever token you transfer, you'll pay gas in the same token. Some wallets can do it with like Apple Pay, or like free if they want to sponsor and like spend money on user acquisition. So these kind of things can be configurable. And then also the very important aspect here is the security, because there is much more code that needs to be audited comparing with the traditional wallets. So I would say there may be some wallets, smart contract wallets, that may be not as secure because everyone writes their own implementation and everyone can make mistakes. So that's something also that needs to be careful about, because when you use something that has connection with smart contracts, you need to be sure it's audited and it's really safe, because there is like more danger there. Cool. Yeah. It does exist. So there is Argent, there is Safe. They are not that, let's say, mass adopted for different reasons. I think Safe is more like the tool for big companies to manage their funds. They never focused on actually individual users. For Argent, they are, I don't know, they are really focused on things like Starknet, ZK Sync, and they don't go into like all kinds of EVM chains. But when it comes to also, I think Safe and Argent, they all work in a different way. And the shared standard of how smart wallets has to be implemented is only kind of appeared this year. And that's why everyone started building on that standard. And that's why like you see account abstraction everywhere. So it's really getting popular only this year. I think a lot of wallets, a lot of big companies, they do their own implementations of that. So I know that OKX just released smart contract wallet. MetaMask is doing something with snaps. And basically all these big companies, they are trying to experiment, and I would expect like next year will be a lot of smart contract wallets released, and we may switch there.
So everybody will get a smart contract, or is it that you will use like a smart contract with a whole bunch of different users? This is not clear to me.
Yeah, probably everyone will have their smart contract. It's probably...
Who will pay for the initial contract?
You mean for deployment? Wallets can pay for that, or users can pay for that. So that's why in a lot of, basically that's why in smart contract wallets, when you do your first transaction, it's usually more expensive than all the transaction after that, because your first transaction, let's say you send 10 USDT to someone, and the actual transaction will be first step, deploy your contract, second step, 10 USDT, and that will cost more gas for you. So another like disadvantage of smart contract wallets is that you need to pay for deployment. Someone needs to pay for that. It's not free. Although it is kind of free in native account abstraction blockchains like ZK Sync, Starknet. So it's better there. But on EVMs, there is this overhead. And another thing I think I didn't say is that gas fee will always be higher for smart contract wallets comparing with EOA. So it's also a trade-off between something that's more user-friendly, but also more expensive. So you would expect like more pro users, they know how to use seed phrases, they know how gas works. They would not really use smart contract wallets because they're more expensive. But then for new users, for onboarding, maybe they don't mind paying like 50% more for gas, but also having it very simple and like not being scared that they're going to lose their paper with 12 words. So there are lots of trade-offs there, yeah. Cool, no more questions. One more. Yeah, no, I think, so currently how I was like implementing that, it's basically you as a service provider, you give your user a quote, and the quote says, this is the gas you need to pay. It's like the maximum amount of gas you need to pay. You may pay less, but at least you have to have this kind of amount of money. And then kind of the bundler aggregates all the transactions, and they know that they will pay maximum of this, so it makes sense, and then they submit it on blockchain. So you always get the maximum amount you're going to have to pay, and you have to agree to that. Okay, thank you, everyone.